Hello, I am Dr. Sevoca Glass Jr., founder of Justicore Consulting. What if one decision made by a police officer, probation officer, correctional officer, judge, or juvenile justice professional could completely change someone's future? More importantly, how do we know that decision is the best one? Those are important questions because every day, criminal justice professionals make decisions that affect public safety, individual lives, and community trust. Today, we will be discussing evidence-based justice and why it has become one of the most important movements in modern criminal justice. Imagine two probation officers supervising individuals with similar criminal histories. The first officer relies solely on instinct. He supervises everyone the same way because that is how he was taught years ago. The second officer begins by reviewing a validated risk assessment, examines the individual's criminogenic needs, develops an evidence-based supervision plan, and connects the individual to programs that research has shown reduce recidivism. Both officers care, both want success. But which approach is more likely to produce better outcomes? That question introduces us to evidence-based justice. Before we continue, I want you to think about something. If a doctor prescribed medication without using medical research, would you trust that treatment? Most people would probably say no. So why should criminal justice decisions, which often determine a person's freedom, rehabilitation, or safety, be based on anything less than the best available evidence? At its core, evidence-based justice means making decisions using the best available scientific research, professional expertise, reliable data, and ethical judgment. Notice that I said professional expertise is still important. Evidence-based practice does not eliminate professional experience. Instead, it strengthens it. Think of research as a map. Think of professional experience as the driver's skill. You need both to reach your destination successfully. For many years, criminal justice agencies often relied on tradition. People would say, that's how we've always done it. The problem is that tradition alone does not tell us whether something actually works. Research has repeatedly shown that some traditional practices have little impact on reducing crime or recidivism. Others may unintentionally make outcomes worse. Evidence-based justice encourages agencies to ask better questions. Does this program actually reduce recidivism? Does this supervision strategy improve compliance? Does this intervention reduce victimization? Can we measure success instead of assuming success? Those questions move agencies away from opinion and toward accountability. Let's look at a few examples. In policing, agencies use crime analysis and data to determine where resources should be deployed. Rather than guessing where crime may occur, they examine patterns and evidence to make informed decisions. In courts, judges increasingly consider validated assessments and research when appropriate to support fair and consistent decision-making while remaining within the law. In corrections, research has shown that programs focusing on cognitive behavioral interventions, education, vocational training, and substance abuse treatment are often more effective than punishment alone in reducing future offending when properly matched to individual needs. In probation and parole, officers use validated risk-need responsivity, or RNR, principles to identify who requires the most intensive supervision and which interventions are most likely to reduce future criminal behavior. In juvenile justice, decades of research demonstrate that involving families, addressing trauma, improving school engagement, and building positive social supports generally produce better long-term outcomes than relying exclusively on punishment. Notice something important. Evidence-based justice is not about being soft on crime. It is about being smart on crime. It asks one simple question. What approach produces the greatest improvement in public safety while using resources responsibly? That is responsible leadership. Another important principle is continuous improvement. Evidence changes, research grows, new technologies emerge, communities evolve. That means effective professionals never stop learning. The best criminal justice leaders regularly evaluate policies, measure outcomes, review new research, and adjust practices when stronger evidence becomes available. That requires humility. It also requires courage. Sometimes evidence challenges long-held beliefs. Sometimes it tells us that our favorite program is not producing the results we expected. Great leaders are willing to follow the evidence even when it requires change. Now I'd like to ask you a question. If research consistently demonstrates that one approach reduces crime, lowers recidivism, improves officer effectiveness, and strengthens community trust, should agencies continue using less effective methods simply because they are familiar? I believe that answer is clear. Every criminal justice professional has a responsibility to pursue the practices that produce the best outcomes for the people they serve. Here is today's key takeaway. Evidence-based justice is not about replacing professional judgment. It is about improving professional judgment. When we combine research, experience, ethics, leadership, and accountability, we make better decisions. Better decisions produce better outcomes. Better outcomes build safer communities. And safer communities strengthen public trust in the entire criminal justice system. That is the foundation of modern criminal justice. Once again, I am Dr. Sevoca Glass Jr., and thank you for joining us. Remember, in criminal justice, evidence matters, integrity matters, justice demands both.